Hello, my name is Luca Lowrie, a member of Cotton House. When asked to complete a summer project based on a person of inspiration, one name came to mind. Someone who has not only excelled in sport, breaking nearly every record in existence, but someone who has achieved a global platform through many adversities and challenges from a young age. This person uses their platform to drive positive change across diversity and belonging, the environment and stability for this precious planet of ours. I hope you enjoy my story of the British and seven-time Formula One world champion, Lewis Hamilton. For those of you not familiar with Lewis Hamilton, MBE, Lewis was born in a council estate in Stevenage, England on January 7, 1985. Lewis is a British racing driver currently competing in Formula One for the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team, a six-time Formula One world champion. Lewis is widely regarded as one of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport and considered by some to be the greatest of all time. Lewis can often make winning look easy, and some may only know him from his on-track exploits. However, behind Lewis' rise to fame is a story of adversity and challenges that helped shape Lewis to be the man he is today. A man who channels his inner energy and passion for positive change in several areas outside of the motorsport. Lewis's mother, Carmen, is white British, while his father, Anthony Hamilton, is black British, making him mixed race. Lewis Hamilton's parents separated when he was 2, and as a result of this, he lived with his mother and half-sister until he was 12. He then moved to live with his father, stepmother, Linda, and half-brother Nicholas, who is also a professional racing driver and has cerebral palsy. As a small 5-year-old and one of the only black children at school, Lewis became a target by bullies, and at that young age Lewis decided to take up karate so that he could defend himself, an early sign that Lewis would not run from a challenge but rather tackle it head-on. Lewis later became a black belt. At the age of 6, Lewis became interested in cars, and his father brought him a radio-controlled car to race at his local club. Lewis took to it like a natural, and it soon became clear he had a skill when it came to controlling something on 4 wheels. Lewis quickly beat his peers in races and was soon competing with adults. Later that year, Lewis won the British Radio Car Championship, the youngest to ever do so. At the young age of 8, his dad, Anthony, brought Lewis a go-kart, and just 2 years later won the British Karting Championship. Lewis went on to win a different and higher championship every year thereafter. Along with motor racing being a sport dominated by white people, motor racing is also considered a rich person's sport. The Hamiltons were Afro-Caribbean and a working-class, low-income family, 2 factors which brought many hurdles and obstacles. Even at this early stage, the Hamilton family had to make significant financial sacrifices and risks. Lewis's dad held down 5 jobs, and to cover the £20,000 cost of race in the first year, the family put in his stepmom's life savings. His dad's savings and remortgaged the house just for that year alone. Along with a very supportive family, Lewis has a strong belief in God, and whilst there might be pressures either in racing or life, Lewis believes the only thing you can ultimately control is how hard you work at being the best version of yourself. There are signs of this mindset from an incredibly young age. Along with financial challenges, the Hamiltons also faced many racial challenges and barriers. As a result, Lewis felt society was unfair and discriminating. As Lewis has matured, he firmly believes that society is very behind in how it tackles racism and has called on motorsport to do more to address its lack of diversity and inclusion. And in 2020 launched the Hamilton Commission, which I will come on to later. Lewis Hamilton set himself on a path to Formula One when he introduced himself to legendary McLaren team boss Ron Dennis at an award ceremony in 1995. A 9-year-old Lewis Hamilton walked up to Ron, asked for his autograph, and said that when he was older he is going to ask for Ron for a seat in his race car. Lewis was clearly an incredibly determined young boy who put his mind to anything he wanted. Fast forward another 9 years of winning championships in lower single-seater categories, Ron Dennis gave Lewis his first opportunity in Formula One with the contract to drive the McLaren Formula One car to partner 2-time and defending world champion Fernando Alonso. meaning Lewis would be the first black Formula One driver. After finishing on the podium in his debut, Hamilton went on to set several records as he finished runner-up in the 2007 World Drivers' Championship. And in just his second year in Formula One, Lewis won his first title in dramatic fashion. On the last corner of the last lap in the last race of the season, becoming the then youngest Formula One world champion. This made Lewis the first British driver to win the World Championship since Damon Hill in 1996. A big part of Lewis's drive and determination was his belief and watching his younger brother Nick struggle with cerebral palsy. Lewis felt blessed in not having any physical disabilities and appreciated the value of health. Lewis strongly believes in God, he once said. Anything can happen any day, but I feel God has his hands over me. Lewis was brought up in a Roman Catholic family where praying and attending church was a strong family exercise. Lewis has explained he has the word "Still I Rise" from a Mary Angelou poem tattooed on his back and printed on his racing helmet because it inspires him to rise above adversity, and his belief in God gives him the faith. Nick in turn found Lewis to be a source of inspiration and to fight adversity and setbacks. Aged 19, Nick became Britain's first disabled professional racing driver and is still racing to this day. In his last 4 years with McLaren, Hamilton continued to score podium finishes and race victories, but a combination of less competitive machinery and a self-confessed loss of focus due to distractions in his private life saw Lewis fail to finish higher than 4th in the drivers' standings and vowed he would return to form for 2012. Keeping to his word, Hamilton achieved 4 race wins in the 2012 season as he finished 4th in the standings. Lewis came to realise that learning through defeat is how we improve and be a better vision of ourselves. Lewis learned from some of the best drivers and has also taken inspiration and lessons from leaders around the world, which helps him to reflect, improve and come back stronger. A defining moment in Lewis's career was signing with Mercedes in 2013. The move was met with surprise by pundits and the public, with some describing the move to Mercedes, a team with no recent history of success, as a gamble in his first season. Mercedes. Hamilton secured a sole race victory, winning the Hungarian Grand Prix and went on to win a further 5 Drivers' World Championship. As a result, Lewis is widely regarded as one of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport and considered by some to be the greatest of all time. Whilst Lewis is best known for his on-track success, these successes have not only brought Lewis financial wealth, but also opportunities outside of sport. Initially, Lewis's joy was winning on the racing track and the feeling of achievements against adversity. As an adult, Lewis likes expressing his creativity in music and fashion. In fashion, Lewis teamed up with fashion designer Tommy Hilfiger and co-designed a range of clothes made from environmentally and sustainable materials. Whilst Lewis learnt to win, he also learnt about global issues such as the environment and how we can all make a difference. Lewis invests a significant amount of his time working with the UNICEF, Education Africa, Save the Children and several other charities. Lewis learned through his own personal experiences, being the first ever black Formula One racing driver. He experienced first-hand not just racism, but the lack of motorsport career opportunities for the other cultures. In 2020, Lewis launched the Hamilton Commission, which is dedicated to exploring how motorsport can be used as a vehicle to engage more young people from black backgrounds with STEM subjects and, ultimately, employ them in racing teams or engineering sectors. Lewis is using his global platform to try and drive positive change. However, being a voice can also bring critics. Lewis has been described as many things, but one that caught my eye was a crusader. He is always fighting for his beliefs and trying to create great things for the world. Lewis is deeply passionate about what he does whilst being a deep thinker and respecting of other people's opinions. Some view Lewis as revolutionary, as he is trying to change the mindset around our historical lack of diversity and inclusion, not just in the workplace, but in society as a whole. Lewis's mindset, "Still I Rise," is a powerful mindset and learning from defeat to build your way back up. Those are qualities that I could apply in many aspects of my life. Lewis's attitude towards subjects outside of racing is so inspiring, and that is one of the many reasons I chose Lewis. He is incredibly supportive and gracious in defeat, which shows a good sportsman, which is what I strive to be. A recent quote from Lewis brings my story to a close. I hope you enjoy it. It's difficult to always be perfect when we go about our daily lives, but I'm continuing to learn how to be better, and I'm committed to staying educated and informed so I can play my part. Small steps lead to big change, so it's important we all take a moment to understand our footprint and the small changes we can make in our everyday lives to put our planets first. The last step for me will be when I step away from this sport and can focus fully on helping heal the world to provide a better future for our kids.